And today we're going to start on our back. Props that we'll need are just regular blocks, blanket, strap. Um, and when you find yourself on your back, you can turn the top of your head towards the top of your space because you're not necessarily going to need to see me. I'll be very clear with what we're talking about. And we're just going to take a couple of breaths to fall into the floor and see what that feels like. And so the first thing I want you to notice when you find yourself on your back is if you want your legs straight, if you want your legs bent. Notice if you want the hands touching the torso or if you want the hands off touching the floor. And then I want you to start to begin to notice what parts of the body begin to shift and change simply by you bringing your awareness to them. So for me, I notice that if I bring my attention first to my pelvis, I can notice unwinding perhaps around the hip flexors or the backs of the glutes or spreading across the sacrum. I notice if I bring my attention to the shoulder joint region, I can notice the scapula maybe spreading, maybe the spine falling a little bit more between those two bones into the floor. Maybe I can notice the broadness of the clavicles in the front body, or maybe even a sense of armpit airiness. So the first thing that you'll just do here is just notice what you notice in the body. And then as you bring your awareness into the body, start to bring your awareness into the subtle movement of the breath. And for today, the invitation is as much as possible to notice if you can receive the breath. I was taking a class this week by Rodney Yee, and I found it very interesting how he was actively encouraging us not to take a deeper breath, but instead welcome a deeper breath. And so as you're here for these next few moments, I want you to just notice how that might shift your experience of the breath, where you're not actively forcefully trying to pull it in or actively forcefully trying to push it out, but instead you're allowing yourself to get out of the way and allowing the prana, the breath, the life force to enter and fill you, and then allowing the prana, the life force, the vitality to exit. And as we're here for these last 2 or 3 breath cycles, again, bring your awareness back into noticing what may have shifted either in the pelvis or maybe in the shoulders. And then those of you that have your legs straight, on your next exhale, let's go ahead and bend the knees and plant our feet firmly on the floor. Today, our practice is focused very much on our joints and feeling the articulation of the joints and noticing how we can be more receptive to their full movement and stop trying to force things. So, as you're still breathing here, the next time your body exhales, draw your right knee to your chest just by using the muscles without your using your hands. So no hands, just using the muscles in the leg. When that leg comes in, just notice what that feels like. You might point or flex your right foot and see how that feels towards for you. And then when you're ready, just come to stillness with that ankle and extend your right leg straight up to the sky. And again, just notice what that feels like. Once the leg goes up, you might flex your foot, you might point your foot. But again, you're just paying attention. You're welcoming in the movement. You're welcoming in your breath instead of forcing or necessarily trying to control the movement or the breath. Awesome. The next time your foot is flexed, go ahead and pause there. Lift up through the heel a little bit more. And then as you inhale, reach the foot far and away from you back to the floor, using a bit of control as you slowly lower the leg down. Once the foot finally touches, you'll go ahead and bend the knee and draw the foot back to meet its mate. Once both feet are on the floor, both knees are bent, just notice the breath and notice what you notice in the pelvis now. The next time you exhale, the left leg comes into the chest. You might point or flex that foot. Again, we're just using the muscles in the hip flexor here, so no hands. When you're ready, you'll reach that left leg up towards the sky actively, maybe pointing or flexing the foot. Again, just welcoming in the sensation, allowing ourselves to really read and respond to what the body is giving us. The next time that heel is flexed, go ahead and stay there. Inhale, reach the foot up, forward, and down towards the floor using a bit of control to keep the knee and the toes pointing straight up. Awesome. Once your foot finally touches the floor, you'll go ahead and bend the knee, draw the foot back to meet its mate. And again, notice what you notice on the front of the pelvis, back of the pelvis, what you notice in the shoulders, and what you notice in the hips. Great. Let's move on. Let's go ahead and reach our arms alongside our ears. With your arms alongside your ears, if you can, hook your thumbs. So hooking your thumbs, reach your hands up, root down into your pelvis, and then maybe isometrically drag your thumbs apart until you feel a sense of widening across your upper back. So hands are on the floor, reaching up and over your head. On your next exhale, your right knee comes into your chest. Fantastic. Notice if you want to point or flex the foot here. On your next in-breath, extend the right leg up towards the sky. And again, you're reaching up through the arms, you're reaching up through the leg, and take a big breath. On your next exhalation, completely cross your right leg over your left thigh, like you're sitting in a dress in the French Riviera, cute little dress, legs are together, yep. Push through your left foot, lift your pelvis up, slide your butt a little to the left, put your butt back down, and then let your legs fall towards the right. Now, as your legs go to the right, you might start to turn your head towards the left as you pull with your thumbs and you breathe. Some of you will stay right here, happy as clams. Some of you will isometrically think of drawing your knees towards your chest and notice if that changes anything that you're experiencing on your left outer hip. Nice job. Next, in breath, roll over your butt to come back through center. Inhale, reach your right leg up towards the sky. Flex through that foot. Awesome. And then as you're ready, you're going to slowly lower that right leg back to the floor, noticing if you can draw your front ribs into the back body, into the floor. Nice job. When your foot finally touches, go ahead and release your hands. Draw the right leg back to meet the left, and just take a moment to notice what you notice. Again, paying attention to the shoulders and paying attention to the hips. Awesome. From here, let's reach our arms alongside our ears once again. See if you can hook the opposite thumb on top. Reach up through your arms, root down through your pelvis. On your next exhale, the left leg comes into your chest. From here, either point or flex your foot, and then extend your left leg up towards the sky. Great. And then you just take a breath here, really pulling your hands apart isometrically, reaching up through that left heel. On your next exhale, cross the left leg completely over your right thigh. Push down into your right foot, lift your pelvis up, slide your butt a little bit to the right and put it back down. And then with resistance, draw the legs over to your left. Now again, you might take your gaze over to your right. And so some of you will stay right here. Some of you will isometrically draw your knees closer to your chest and notice what that changes on the outside edge of your right hip. Nice job. On your next in-breath, you're going to roll over the bottom of your butt, come back to center, re-square your pelvis if you need to, and then extend your left leg up towards the sky. Fantastic. Actively flex through that foot. And as you inhale, slowly lower that foot all the way back down to the floor. When the heel finally touches, you'll go ahead and bend the knee, release the arms, and come back to that starting position. And just take a moment to notice what you notice here. All right. Let's move on. Inhale, sweep your arms alongside your ears. This time you're just going to reach up actively through the arms, palms facing in. Now, if you like this shape, great. If you liked the previous one where you were hooking your thumbs, great. You go back to that. On your next exhale, draw your right knee into your chest. Pause. As you exhale, push down through your left heel, slide your left leg forward and along the floor. Once your left leg reaches forward along the floor, you'll see if you can push down into the left heel, left calf. Next in breath, extend your right leg up towards the sky. Yay, look at that. That's challenging. Take a breath in here. On your next exhale, the left leg bends and plants itself back on the floor. Externally rotate your right leg. Cross your right ankle over the top of your left thigh. Release your hands and draw your legs towards your chest. Now, some of you will use your arms and thread your hands through the holes of the legs. Some of you will not. It just depends on what feels good to you. Actively flex through that right foot. Press the right outer ankle into the top of the left thigh. And you just pause and you breathe and you notice what you notice, what's happening in your pelvis, what's happening in your shoulders. If you're holding on with your hands, gently release your arms out into a T shape. Lower the left foot back to the floor. Push slightly into your left foot. Lift your hips an inch or two. Slide them just a little bit to the right and put your butt back down. Other right, Sandy. And then allow the legs to fall over to the left. Now, once the legs fall to the left, some of you will use your left hand to hold onto your right ankle. Some of you will use your left hand to push your right thigh away from you, and then maybe turn your gaze towards the right. And then you just pause and you breathe. So right knee is pointing to the sky, right foot on the floor. Nice job. On your next in-breath, roll over your butt and come back to your back. Re-square your pelvis. And then this time, we're going to go ahead and inhale, reach your right leg up towards the sky. Bring your hands, so left leg still on the floor. Let's bring our hands to the back of our head. As you exhale, tuck your chin to your chest, lift your shoulder blades up and away from the floor, and with control, inhale, slowly lower that leg to the floor, and you'll hover it there for about a breath cycle. After you've taken a complete breath cycle, that right leg hovering off the floor, you'll inhale and lower your head and lower your leg, and then exhale, draw the leg back to meet its mate. Take a moment to notice what you notice between the sides. Fantastic. Let's move on. Inhale, sweep your arms up and alongside your ears. Again, maybe your palms face towards each other and you're actively reaching out through your pinky fingers, or maybe you hook your thumbs if that felt better to you and pull wide. On your next exhale, draw your left leg towards your chest. And then inhale, flex through your right foot. Press your right foot long on the floor beneath you. So left leg stays bent for a moment and you're just finding that single leg stretch here. Pause. Awesome. And you just pause and you breathe. Next in breath, extend the left leg up towards the sky, noticing, hello, happy hamstrings. Awesome sauce. On your next exhale, rebend the right knee, plant the right foot on the floor. As you exhale, externally rotate that left leg, cross the left ankle over the top of your right thigh. Fantastic. From here, you'll draw your legs towards your chest. You might use your arms, you might not. Wherever you are, we're actively pressing through that left outer ankle into the right thigh, and you're just pausing and you're breathing as the legs come towards your chest and you experience what's happening on your outer left hip. Nice job. All right, let's go ahead and release the arms out into a T shape. Replant your right foot. Push down into your right foot, lift your pelvis about an inch, slide your butt a little bit to the left, put your butt back down, and then allow the legs to fall over to the right in this configuration. Now, some of you will use your right hand to hold on to your left ankle. Some of you will use your right hand to press your left knee away from you. But you just take a couple of breaths here. So the left knee is pointing straight up to the sky, left sole of the foot is on the floor, and maybe your gaze is going to the left. Nice work. Other leg on top, Barbara. On your next in-breath, You will come back through center, rolling across the butt flesh on the back. As you're ready, you'll go ahead and inhale and extend the left leg up towards the sky. Then bring your hands to the back of your head. Next exhalation, chin to chest, shoulder blades lift up and away from the floor. So keep the back of the body or the shoulder blades off the body as you inhale and reach your left leg slowly forward and down towards the floor. When you're about a couple inches away from the floor, you hover there for a breath cycle, spread wide into your right foot. And then on your next in-breath, the head comes down, the leg comes down. As you exhale, you draw that left leg back to meet its right. Meet its right, meet the right. And then you just take a breath cycle here and you notice what you notice. How's the breath? How's the body? How are you? Fantastic. Let's move on. Let's go ahead and draw both knees into our chest. Fantastic. And then from here, thread your hands through the inner edges of the thighs, grab the outer edges of your feet. Actively press the soles of your feet in towards each other. So we're going to take the Supta Baddha Konasana thing first. And I want you to notice what's happening in your shoulders and your hips. And then for those of you that mentioned your low back, notice what's happening in your low back. Some of you will stay happy as a clam here. Some of you will start to reach your knees towards the floor, your feet towards the sky, and find yourself in Ananda Balasana, happy baby. And again, pay attention. We want to keep our hips, our sacrum, our pelvis rooted, and our shoulders rooted. And then those of you that have mentioned stuff going on in your low back, breathe into your low back as you breathe into your inner thighs and just notice what you notice. Nice job. All right. From here, let's go ahead and come back to center with the knees. Wrap your arms around the front of your shin bones. And then once again, tuck your chin to your chest, lift your whole shoulder blade region up and away from the floor. Awesome sauce. Now, we want to see if we can do this without a lot of momentum, but you're going to start to rock and roll forward and back. Some of you may notice that you have to create a little bit more space between your thighs and your chest, but you're going to take, I don't know, 5 to 10 of these until you find yourself up to sit. Now, good job, guys and gals. Once you're seated, go ahead and turn around because you'll probably want to look at me versus looking at the back of your space. And we'll just start by having, I suppose most of us will probably have our left shin in front. So we'll have our left shin in front of us. Okay. If you need to remove any flesh, go ahead and do that. And then we'll go ahead and inhale and reach our arms up and alongside our ears. And we want to, again, find that connection between our sit bones. So you now have the floor underneath you. So push down into your sit bones, reach up through your pinky fingers and see if you can lift the sternum just a smidge. On your next exhale, we'll rotate towards your left. So right hand will come forward, left hand will come back. Go ahead and soften the gaze or close your eyes. And I want you to imagine that you had eyes in the back of your head. And you're going to start to turn the eyes in the back of your head towards your right shoulder. So eyes in the back of your head. And with your eyes in the back of the head, notice if you can keep your chin parallel-ish to the floor. Those of you with stuff going on in your right lower back, particularly pay attention to what happens as you press down into your right sit bone and lift up through the center of your spine, your crown of your head. Fantastic. Next in breath, we'll come back through center. Go ahead and bring your hands alongside your hips, wherever is going to work for you. You're going to lean back just a little bit, hug your knees into your chest, switch the cross of the ankle, and lower the feet back down. All right, from there, inhale, sweep the arms up and overhead. And then again, we'll rotate this time towards the right. So left hand touches maybe right knee, maybe in front. Soften the gaze or close your eyes. And then you're going to turn the back of your head. So looking through the eyeballs in the back of your head to look over your right shoulder. Sorry, your left shoulder. So eyes in the back of the head, looking over your left shoulder. Split up through the crown of the head and root down through your left sit bone. And you just pause and you breathe and you notice what you notice. If you can soften any tension around your throat. Awesome. Next in breath, come back through center. Cool. From here, we're going to go ahead and extend our legs forward, Dandasana, staff pose. And I want you to see if you can sit as tall as you can without sort of hunching back in the back. So sitting really, really tall, actively flex through those feet. And then some of you will just keep your hands here like happy, pretty little ballerinas. Some of you will reach your arms up and alongside your ears. And our feet are active. Our kneecaps are pulling up towards our hip bones and our sternum lifts. On your next exhale, go ahead and lower the hands back down. You can use your hands if you need to bend the knees and draw the legs towards you. And then we're going to take Baddha Konasana, or if you're like, I don't need to do that, you don't need to do that. Okay. Once you've drawn the soles of your feet together, your hands come back behind you. You lift your pelvis up and slide your bum a little bit closer towards your heels. Then bring your hands to the outer edges of your feet. Pull your feet toward you. Pull your heart and sternum forward through the gates of your arms and see if you can lift up through your sternum. Now, again, bring your awareness to your shoulders and your hips. And my people with low back stuff, notice what's happening as you really actively root down through your sit bones as you lift up through your sternum. Fantastic. All right, we'll gently release that. From here, we're going to extend one leg out to the side and the other leg out to the side for Upavista Konasana. And you don't have to go super far. It's just wherever your legs are. We are really focused on this activation of, I want you to flex through your feet, push your heels down and suck your heels in towards your pelvis. Then hands can go alongside your hips once again. And if you're happy here, you stay here or reach your arms up and alongside your ears. And we're just going to stay here for a couple of breaths. You might soften the gaze or close the eyes. But again, I want you to pay attention. Where is the weight in your pelvis? Sometimes we can tend to shift towards one sit bone more than the other, and just notice what you notice. And then notice if you can root down evenly through both and then extend up through your crown. Fantastic. Next exhale, let's go ahead and release the hands down, release the feet, scoop your legs using your arms, and then make your way over to hands and knees. Once you find yourself onto hands and knees, we're going to find ourselves in our sad non-California cow position. So hands directly underneath your shoulders, knees directly underneath your waist, really drop into your belly, really drop into your chest, really drop your head. And you just take a couple of breaths here. So again, we're paying attention to the shoulders and we're paying attention to the hips. It's very interesting how these two parts of the body are very integrated with one another, even though they don't seem like they could be or should be. And so you just take a couple of breaths here. And if you were happy as a clam here, I want you to notice what happens if you bring your awareness to the space between your shoulder blades. What's happening there? I want you to notice what's happening in your pubic bone, in your pelvic region as you start to breathe in here, what's happening in the back of the neck. Awesome. On your next exhale, let's start to scoop our tailbone down and under. Let's start to scoop our low belly up. Let's start to scoop our lowest ribs up, our middle ribs up, our upper ribs up. Start to round through the clavicles even more. Push down through the hands and push them apart isometrically. And then notice if you can drop your head more as you drop your tail more. Fantastic. On your next in breath, you'll start to lift the tailbone, send the pubic bone back, lower the lowest belly, lower the middle belly, lower the ribs, lower the sternum, broaden the collarbones, open the throat, and maybe lift your head. Awesome. And then you'll do that 2 or 3 more times on your own, but I want you to take it sequentially. So we're starting from the butt, we're curling everything in and up. And maybe you take an extra breath cycle once you finally get to that full cat pose and just notice what it feels like to breathe into your upper back. And then when you unfurl your spine into your cow shape, maybe you just take an extra breath cycle there, feeling what it feels like to breathe into your upper back. Nice. Awesome. So you got 1 to 2 more sets on your own. Again, just really exploring what this feels like. I found myself thinking this week a lot about this idea of repetitive patterns and the things that I need to keep relearning, or the lessons that I continue to learn every single couple of years, it seems. And there's this idea that like the repetition of them, it sometimes can feel like it's a setback, but other times it gives you an opportunity to explore things. It feels quite nice. All right. The next time you find yourself in a neutral spine, Let's go ahead and stay there. Bring your right hand to touch your right shoulder. Right hand to touch the right shoulder. Cool, that's clear as mud. Let's bring our right palm to face up to touch our shoulder and our right elbow out to the right. Great. Actively push down into your left hand. And then I want you to start to push down into your left hand so much that your spine has no option but to rotate towards the right. So you push down actively into that left hand, and then the right elbow starts to reach up. And then you'll notice that you can open the sternum forward and lean the head back just a little bit. Fantastic. Some of you will stay right here, happy as a clam. Some of you will start to thread your right hand underneath you to the left and find the opposite twist. And then you'll notice what this feels like. Back of the right hand presses into the floor. Maybe you reposition that left hand. Maybe you tuck your chin to your chest. But wherever you are, can you allow the movement to unfold itself versus grasping and gripping and clawing at it? One of the things I've noticed in my own state of being is there's this like constant thing where I have to relearn that I have to relax and not try to control everything. Because otherwise it's not such a fun experience. All right, on your next in-breath, come back through center. You might want to reach that right arm up to the sky for that twist and feel what that feels like. You might just want to come straight to hands and knees. And then once you find yourself in hands and knees, just take a moment to pause. Find your sad non-California cow again. Hi, non-South California cow. And notice if you notice anything different on your right side as compared to your left. On your next exhale, you'll start to scoop the tailbone, the belly, the ribs, the spine, and find yourself into your cat pose. And then you'll inhale from the pelvis and articulate the spine forward into your cow pose. Nice job. Gently make your way to a neutral spine as you're ready. And then again, press down into the right hand. Left hand comes to the shoulder, palm faces up. And again, push down through the right hand with all your strength and all your might. And then notice that that gives you the opportunity to rotate towards the left. And just take a moment to pause here. Really allow the sternum to come forward and the head to lean back as you push down into that right hand. And some of you will stay here. Some of you may thread your hand underneath you to the right, bringing the whole left shoulder ear thing to the floor. And if you've taken that option, maybe you replant that right hand. Maybe you tuck your chin to your chest, but you just take a couple of moments to breathe here, to notice we rotated the spine one way and now we're going the other. Fantastic. When you're ready, you'll come out of this, replanting the right hand, maybe reaching the left arm up towards the sky, maybe not. Nice job. And then gently come back to hands and knees. Again, find our non-California cows, so static back according to Pete Agascu. And then slowly ripple yourself into your cat pose. And then ripple yourself into your cow pose. Fantastic. From here, come to a neutral spine. Maybe walk your hands about a handprint forward. Curl both sets of toes under and lift your pelvis up and back for downward facing dog. Once you find yourself in your downward facing dog, just notice what you notice. How do the shoulders feel? How does the hips feel? Some of you may want to bend or straighten one leg and then the other. Some of you may choose to sort of shift your tuchus a little to the right and a little to the left, like you're wagging it, or like Sandy's. Oh, look, Sandy, there's your analogy for the skateboarding and the snowboarding. There you go. Well, I don't do either one of those things, but that seems similar to me. And then when you're ready, you're going to go ahead and come to a still neutral spot. I've been thinking about the comment I made to you guys a few weeks ago about getting rid of the wrinkles in your ankles. And it really has to do with making sure that you're equally pressing into your inner and outer edge of your heel. So just notice if you can direct that so it feels like there's a straight line. There aren't any bumps or jumps if you do see a crease in your ankle. Awesome. Let's go ahead and come forward. Inhale to hands and knees. If your knees are sensitive, you may choose to pad your knees with a blanket. Otherwise, you can stay exactly as you are. We're going to take our right shin over to the right, about a 45-degree angle. Send your left toes back, spin your left foot down, and bring your left hand to your left hip. Now, just as we did a moment ago, I want you to press down actively into that right hand. With your left hand on your left hip, really press down into your left pinky toe. And then with your left hand on your left hip, you can really extend. So you're almost like I told you not to press and control things, but you can use that left hand to guide your left hip more towards your left foot. If you are happy here and you feel a nice little stretch across maybe your iliacus, your psoas, maybe your quadratus lumborum, you can stay here. Some of you will start to peel more of your chest towards the left and maybe up towards the sky. Some of you will use your left hand and extend it alongside your left ear. Some of you will hold your head with your left hand. Wherever you are, you're just allowing the shape to unfurl itself for you. Noticing again, pushing down into that right hand if you can roll more of your ribs to the left and maybe up towards the sky. Great. As you're ready, let's come back through center, hands and knees. Check in with our Pita Gosku static back, non-happy cows. And then find your cat and find your happy cow. And then when you're ready, come to a neutral spine. We'll try that on the other side. So we'll send our left foot to the left. You'll extend your right toes back on the floor. Spin the right foot down to the floor. Push down into the left hand. Right hand comes to right hip. And again, the focus for today is really rooting down into the left hand, left shoulder region. And then with your right hand on your right hip, press your right pinky toe edge of the foot down. And with that right hand, you can guide the ribs and the hips away from each other. Tailbone lengthens down towards your right foot. Again, you may stay here and roll your ribs towards the right and maybe up. You might extend your right arm alongside your ears. You might bring your right hand to the back of your head. But again, you're just paying attention. What is happening in your body? What is happening in your breath? What is happening in this pose? I think for me, I'm trying to remember that the more I try to force myself into things, the more I innately rebel. The body rebels, the breath rebels, my life force rebels. But when I can allow things to just unfurl, there's a sense of integration, stability, strength, ease. They can't come when one is forcing things. All right. When you're ready, let's go ahead and come back to hands and knees. You're not going to like this, but that's okay. Go ahead and slide your right foot back, curl the toes under. Go ahead and slide your left foot back, curl the toes under. Haha, you're in plank. Now that you're here, notice what happens if we actively push down through our hands, isometrically drawing them apart. As active as we were when in that twist thing earlier and in our side plank variation. And then notice if you can lift your tuchus just a little bit. Lightly hug your glutes in towards your midline as you reach back through your heels. From here, you're going to start to bend your knees a smidgen and then start to push your hands down and forward as you lift your hips up and back. And you're going to take about 5 breath cycles to get to your downward facing dog. So if you're already there, go back and slowly push yourself back to your downward facing dog, feeling all the little muscles that have to work in order for you to do that. And then once you finally have gotten to your 5th breath and you're in your downward facing dog, reconnect with your neck and your shoulders. So notice if you have to draw your chin to your chest a little bit, if you have to elongate the front of the neck, the back of the neck, but just take a moment to pause and take a moment to breathe and notice what you notice. Great. Next in breath, let's come forward to plank pose once again, Phalangasana. Okay, some of you will lower your knees to your mat. Some of you will stay exactly as you are. But you're going to take the slowest 5 count exhale breath cycle thing to the floor. 5 breaths is a lot slower than you may think. So that's an in breath, and that's an out breath, and that's another in breath, and another out breath. And then there's still 3 more of those things. So you're just slowly taking your time to slowly lower down. And then once you finally find yourself on your tummy, say, hooray, we made it. And then bring your forehead to your mat and bring your hands to your sacrum. Now your palms will face up and you can just stack them on top of each other or hold one wrist like you're one of those disciplinarian teachers walking around a room saying, But don't hold your hands too lightly because I'm going to make you do something. On your next in breath, you're going to sweep your right leg up and back and your left arm out and forward at the same time as you lift your head. Awesome sauce. As you exhale, you'll sweep your hand back. You will look to your right and you'll lower your leg down. Fantastic. We'll do that on the other side. So inhale, left leg lifts, right arm reaches out and forward. And then as you exhale, you sweep your hand back, you look to your left, you lower the leg and the chest. Great. You've got a total of 10 of those, so 5 sets. And you just pause and you breathe and see if you can coordinate this so everything arrives at the same time. So your leg and arm reach the height at the same time, and your leg, arm, and head reach the depth at the same time. And again, specifically because a lot of you said you were having low back pain, back stuff. This is to strengthen the back asymmetrically along the fascial line. So we're just seeing what's happening here as we do this. So Julie, you stay on your tummy the whole time and you're just kind of, sweeping the arm out and up as you lift an arm and a leg. Mm. Oh, I figured out what the issue is, Julie. Bring both of your hands to start on your butt first. There we go. And then you only sweep your right arm forward as your left leg lifts up and back. Yep. And then you sweep that arm back and you look to the left as you bring it down. There we go. All right. And after, I am not counting, so you're doing a total of 10, 5 sets. And after you've done that, you just go ahead and you pause and you breathe and you lay down and we'll wait for everyone to catch up. Great. We'll say this is our last one. Fantastic. Let's go ahead and bring our hands now alongside our ribs. And I want you to widen your feet as wide as feels comfortable for you. Lizzie Lassiter and Mary Richardson talk a lot about widening the feet for the pelvis. So you choose based upon what's feeling good for you. And you're going to take 5 breath cycles to get into your cobra. So what I encourage you to do is I encourage you to first pay attention to what's happening in your feet. Engage your feet, engage your legs, engage your glutes, and then start to reach your sternum forward by engaging the pubic bone to the belly button. And then you might notice that you can lightly press down into the hands and hug the shoulder blades onto the back body. And then maybe you notice that you have to engage the glutes a little bit more, but you've got 5 breath cycles to get to the peak of your cobra. And you're just noticing what it feels like. And if you've taken your legs a lot further apart than you normally do, notice what that feels like too. And after you get to the top, you'll take a breath cycle and you'll slowly come back down. Yeah, nice job. You're going to do that 2 more times. So you've got 5 breath cycles to get to your cobra. If you want to change where your feet are between variations, by all means do that. But you've got 5 breath cycles. So that's a complete inhalation. That's a complete exhalation. And you notice that when we do this, when we receive, when we allow the breath to enter, that changes how the body has to react. It changes what parts of the body engage, what parts of the body open, what parts of the body release. Yeah. And go ahead and release. And I believe all of you are parents, and I kind of imagine that this is probably something that each of you noticed in some unique way with each of your children, that like there's this receptivity that sort of comes about with raising another human being, where you kind of are like, okay, I can't force them to do this because they're not going to do it. So it's like, how can I meet them where they're at? All right, after you've done a total of 3, you're just going to come down and take a couple of breath cycles. Awesome. This is going to be awkward for most of you. Can you turn a little bit so you're on an angle? So maybe like a 25-degree turn, because I'm paying attention to what you guys are doing in your bellies. I'm going to make you do something that you're not going to really like, so I'm sorry. Okay, great. Let's go ahead and bring our hands alongside our hips. Okay, great. Now bring your hands back forward once again and put them aside your ribs. I just need to see where your hips are in comparison. So thank you for that. Now I want you to spread through your hands, not overly, but just enough that you can feel the base of your knuckles press down into the mat and the tips of your fingertips press down into the mat. Now curl your toes under. Okay. Now I want you to pull your belly button into your spine harder than you think that you need to. Like there's a thread and a needle, and I'm asking you to draw it up. Now from here, draw your shoulders onto your back body and lift your ears a couple inches away from the mat. There. Great. Now imagine some of you are going to push down into your knees a lot with your toes curled under. Your belly button is going to lead you up into hands and knees. Belly button's going to lead you up. So push down into your hands. Belly button's going to lead you up. Better, Barbara. Belly button's going to lead you up. Better, Laura. That's great. Belly button's going to lead you up. Better, Robin. Okay. And then you're going to lower back down and do that again. So these are push-ups. But I want you guys to focus on your abdomen because sometimes you lift your head faster than your belly. Good, Erica. And I want you to lift your belly first. You can always straighten your legs better, Laura, at any point in time. That just makes it harder. With your knees on the floor, you can really focus on your belly coming first in order to come up. And you're just going to do 3 or 4 of those. And then Laura, same thing when you come down. See if you can keep the belly up as you come down. Good control there, Erica. Nice, Julie. Nice. Nice there, Laura. Nice, Robin. Nice, Barbara. Nice, Barbara. Hold it all the way to the end, Barbara. Okay, after you've done 3 or 4, you'll come up to hands and knees. And then you're going to take your toe squat. Was that too bad? Okay, I got some faces. Who knows? All right, our backs are always causing us issues, and I think that probably is contributing to it. So I figured, why not make you do that? All right, so when we're sitting up in our toe squat, this was something I liked when I was taking a class this week. We were talking about Vajrasana. So not exactly toe squat, but similar. But there's this idea of drawing in. So I want you to think of drawing your legs into your pelvis. So there's that active energy while you're there. And then we're going to go ahead and practice our arms out like so. And if at any point you're like, I don't want to sit in toe squat, come out of toe squat. But you're going to exhale and draw your elbows towards each other. And inhale and come out. And you're just going to do 3 of these. So you squeeze the shoulder blades onto the back body when they open, and you notice the sort of compression in the pecs when they come in. So this next time your elbows come in, that should be 3. We're going to stay here. You'll slide your right arm underneath your left. Maybe bring the backs of the palms to touch. Maybe bring the fronts of the palms to touch. If the fronts of the palms touch, maybe your thumb of your right hand touches the center of your skull. Well, not your skull, your forehead. And you reach your elbows forward as you breathe into your back body. And again, we want to see if we can welcome the breath. Might feel a little bit harder here because we're kind of constricted in the front body, but just see if you can welcome the breath. Nice work. On your next in-breath, gently unwind and open the arms. You can repeat what we did the first time, or you can make little fists with your hands and draw your fist to your head. Now we want to do the same thing, but we don't want to bend at the elbows. And this, for some reason, for me, feels a whole heck of a lot harder than the cactus elbow arm thing. So we want to make sure we don't break at the wrist, so there's no bending there, and it just stays one long line. Okay. After you've done 3, you're going to release your fists up. You're going to slide your left arm underneath. Maybe the backs of the palms touch. Maybe the fronts of the palms touch. Maybe your left thumb comes to the center of your third eye, and you just lift your elbows and you breathe into your back body for 3. You lift up through the center of your skull for 2. You release for 1. Fantastic. Gently release. Come forward onto hands and knees. Maybe you pitter patter the tops of your feet on the floor. Maybe you shift back and take a counter stretch, lifting one end or both knees up and away from the floor. But you just pause and you breathe. Awesome sauce. All right. From here, we're back to plank pose. Okay, this time in plank, I want you to see if you can lift your tuchus a little bit higher than I normally would want you to lift your tuchus. So just an inch. Okay, and then notice what that does in the hands, what that does in the front of the core, what that does in your throat. And then lower your pelvis back to where your shoulders are in line with your hips. From there, shift your weight forward and slower than you want to, lower down. Again, you can always lower your knees. And we want to keep the belly lifted the whole time, belly lifted the whole time, belly lifted. There you go, Sandy. Belly lifted the whole time. Once you're finally down onto your back, you'll go ahead and extend your right arm alongside your ears. You'll roll over onto your right side. You'll make your way onto your back. When we come onto our back, those of you that like using a block, you may want to have your block somewhere nearby. Okay. And the first thing that we'll do is when you find yourself onto your back, go ahead and extend your arms alongside your hips, palms face up. And I want you to widen your arms until you feel that your shoulder blades widen on the back, widen on the floor, and there's this broadness across the front of the chest. So for me, sometimes it feels like my arms are like 6 to 12 inches away from my pelvis, so that there's that broadness across the back body. Great. From here, on your next exhale, draw your right knee into your chest. Send your right foot up to the sky and Barbie float your foot. So you're flexing and pointing, and there's activation through the toes. And then on your next exhale, draw the left knee into your chest. And then send your left foot up towards the sky and Barbie float that foot too. Now notice for you, if you want to have your feet towards each other, or if you want to have your feet hip distance apart. Now with your hands as they are, see if you can press the backs of your shoulder blades into the floor and then lift the center of the sternum up as you root down through the pelvis. Some of you will stay here. Some of you will robot your arms so your fingertips point straight up. And now press into the backs of the elbows, back of the shoulders, back of the skull, back of the sacrum as you reach up through your feet. Fantastic. On your next exhale, you'll gently bend the knees, plant the feet on the floor. Release your arms. So that's option one. You can come back and do that. Option two would be to slide one end or two blocks underneath your butt and do the same thing. Now, the focus is, even if you're using the blocks, we want to pay attention to what's happening in the upper back and the shoulders. So the arms are wide, the shoulder blades are wide, the collarbones are open. And then one at a time, you'll draw your right knee into your chest and then send the foot up to the sky, Barbie floating that foot. And then you'll draw the left knee into your chest, send the left foot up to the sky, Barbie float that foot. And then again, actively push down to the backs of the shoulders, the back of the head, the back of the sacrum as you reach up through your feet. Some of you will bend the elbows and or like robot the arms so the fingertips point straight up. And if you do that, again, notice if you can push down into the backs of the elbows, the backs of the shoulders, lift your sternum a smidge as you draw your chin slightly towards your chest and push the center of your skull straight down and you reach up through your legs. Erica, can you draw your legs a little closer towards your head? There we go. Awesome. And then Barbara, your elbows, if they're up like, or your fingers, if they're up like that, bring your elbows close to your waist. So hands can still reach up. There we go. So now you can push down into your elbows and you can broaden across the chest. Great. All right. When you're ready, you'll gently come down out of this one at a time. Go ahead and remove the block and come to the floor. Okay, and just take a moment to pause and breathe. What do you notice on the front of the body? What do you notice on the back of the body? Bring your hands alongside your hips. Okay, now push down through your feet, lift your pelvis up. Again, widen across the collarbones, which means you have to push down into the backs of the shoulders. And some of you will just stay here, your pelvis lifted. Some of you will hold onto the outer edges of your mat and actively pull it up wide so that you can then walk your shoulder blades even closer together underneath you. Some of you will stay there. Some of you might interlace your hands underneath you. Great. All of you will notice if you can widen the collarbones even more by really pushing down onto the outer edges of your shoulders. Widen through the soles of your feet and then push through the feet to lift your hips. Eric, I wonder what would happen if you widened your feet just a smidge. Okay, and then now keep pressing into the big toe mound of your right foot, especially as you lift the outer right hip. Okay. Does that feel okay? Okay. And then you just pause and you breathe and you pause and you breathe. And after you've had enough breath cycles here, again, paying attention to the shoulders and the hips, you'll go ahead and bring yourself down to the mat. And I gave that last cue to Erica about widening the feet, but all of you can do that. We'll take bridge one more time. You'll notice that if you sort of widen the feet a little bit, and sometimes it feels like you slightly internally rotate the thigh bones, and by slightly, I mean it's less than a half a millimeter, it's super small. It changes what's happening in your sacrum and your low back. So when you're ready, go ahead and try bridge pose once again, Setu Bandha Sarvangasana. And play this time with where your feet are in relationship to each other. And then notice what happens if you really pay attention to what your shoulder blades are doing. And then pay attention to what happens if you draw the center of your awareness on your skull into that occipital ridge, that bone at the back. And then bring your awareness to the back of the shoulder blades and breathe into this space here. Ideally, we try to open up the joints of the body. So from a subtle body perspective, the energy, the prana, the vitality, the life force that is our being is not blocked, and it can roll and it can flow and it can just be at ease. And sometimes our habitual ways of being, and I shouldn't say habitual, they're more like our learned ways of being, can block that energy, can block our vitality and our life force. And again, for me, it's a reminder to constantly notice where those blockages have built up and how I can remember that I can unwind them. When you're ready to come down, come down. Once you come down this time, let's go ahead and widen our feet a little bit outside of our hips. Open the arms into a T shape. And if you're depending upon the length of your thigh bones and the configuration of your legs, you may need to widen your feet even more. But we'll start by just leaving the left leg as it is and letting the right leg internally rotate and drop towards the left. Found this out from Mary Richardson too. Apparently, our internal rotation of our thigh bones is very indicative, apparently, of whether or not we might be developing osteoporosis and things like that in the hips. I don't know how true it is, but that's just what she said. I was like, oh, that's interesting. On your next in-breath, go ahead and come back through center. And then as you're ready, do the same thing on the left side, just internally rotating just that left leg. And by that, it was a mention of not just you stopping, but when you're starting to feel pain and it doesn't go as far as it used to. And then inhale, coming back through center. And do that one more time on each side. And you just pause and you breathe and you notice what you notice. Awesome sauce. And once you feel like you are balanced between the sides, you'll go ahead and come back through center. Okay. Once we're back in center with both feet on the floor, walk your feet hip distance apart. And our last little foray at this. On your next exhale, we'll start with your left leg first, though. Draw your left leg into your chest. So arms are still on the floor. You're just using your core work. There we go. Next in breath, send your left leg up towards the sky. With control, slowly reach your leg forward and down to the mat. Forward and down to the mat. This time, though, when your left leg finally touches the floor, you're going to leave it there, active in that left leg. And then you'll exhale and draw your right knee into your chest. And then you'll reach the right foot up towards the sky. You'll flex through the foot. And then slowly with control, you'll lower the right leg to meet the left. Nice control, guys and gals. Once you finally get down to the floor, you'll just allow your legs to flop open into their Shavasana position. So some of you may want to widen them, some of you may keep them right as they are. And then bring your hands to the position that's maybe 6 to 12 inches today, or maybe not, but away from your pelvis so that your palms can face the sky. Your shoulder blades can roll open and on the back. There we go. And then your head can relax. And you'll just take 3 or 4 breath cycles here to let your body just be. And we'll bring our awareness back to this idea of welcoming, receiving, responding to the breath versus overly trying to direct, control, manipulate. You put in whatever verb you want to put in there. Maybe adverb, I guess is a better way of saying that. It's descriptive. I think it's an adverb. Um, and after you've taken 3 or 4 breath cycles there, if there's any part of you that feels like there's something else that you wish to do before settling into Shavasana, by all means, great, go do that. If you're happy as a clam here, please stay here. And for those of you that are choosing to stay here, again, let's bring our awareness to the breath. Notice how it's a slight subtle change, but how do we bring ourselves to the point where we can just welcome and receive it? My friend refers to it as being like a beat behind. So, like a stimulus happens, and you wait a beat, you wait a bit before you react or respond to it. And so, like, how can we be a beat behind the breath so that we can follow its impulse, so that we can follow its wisdom, its knowledge? Okay. Those of you that are doing other things, by all means, continue doing whatever the heck you're doing. Those of you that are in your final resting pose, again, the invitation is to come back to following the breath, giving ourselves permission to strengthen, as it were, our connection to our intuition, our connection to our divine spark, if you want to conceive of it that way, our connection to that part of us that is wholly and solely us, that can really only be felt when we strip away some of the blockages of habit or learning. I'll go ahead and leave you here with you for the next few moments, the next few breaths, and I'll let you know when it's time to come out. Return your awareness to your breath. As you come back to your breath, take a moment to check in. If there's any part of you longing to linger in this shape, by all means, please stay here. When you are ready to move on, you'll extend your right arm alongside your right ear. You'll roll to your right side. You'll pause there for a couple of breath cycles in a semi-fetal position. And after you've taken 2 to 3 breath cycles, you'll press yourself to a tall vertical seat. When you are upright, I do encourage you to sit on something, whether it's a block, whether it's a blanket, a pillow, zafu cushion. When you are seated, if you need to remove any flesh from underneath your sit bones, by all means, please do that. And then either soften the gaze or close the eyes. We'll start by turning our palms to face up. On your left hand, tuck your index finger into the base of your thumb and extend out through your other 3 fingers. On your right hand, you'll tuck your middle finger and index finger into the base of your heel of the hand. You'll draw your right palm in front of your face. You'll rest your right nostril, or rather right thumb on your right nostril, your pinky finger and ring finger on the outside edge of your left nostril. Gently go ahead and see if you need to reposition that right elbow so your chest stays open. And then if you're needing grounding today, you're going to turn your left palm to face down. If you're needing inspiration, you'll turn your left palm to face up. And then as you're ready, exhale all the breath from your mouth. Close your lips, close your right nostril, and inhale through your left. The top of your inhalation, you will close your left nostril and then slowly release the breath out through your right. When you need breath, you'll draw the breath in through your right nostril. At the top of your inhalation, you'll close your right nostril and gently exhale the breath through the left. That's 1 round of Nadi Shodhana. When you're ready, you'll draw the breath back in through the left. The top of your inhalation, you'll close your left nostril and slowly exhale out through the right. When you need to, you'll draw that breath back in through the right. Top of your inhalation, close your right nostril and slowly exhale out through the left. That's 2 rounds. You'll continue 4 more rounds on your own. And just notice if you can slow down to follow the impulse of the breath. There is no rush, but the 6th time the breath exits through your left nostril, you'll simply lower your right hand. After you've lowered your right hand, make sure it matches the left, and just take 3 or 4 breath cycles here. The question is always why do we repeat certain lessons? What do they have to teach us time and again? I think the lesson I continually need to learn is that I need to slow down, that my self-worth is not dependent upon my productivity. But what is yours? What is that thing that keeps coming up time and again in various forms, in various ways? And how can we trust that that lesson continues to reappear because it really has a valuable gift to give us? We'll go ahead and complete our practice with a collective breath, followed by a collective Om. Guide your hands to heart center, Anjali Mudra. Actively press the palms into each other. Receive the weight of your thumbs into your sternum as you lift the sternum to the thumbs. Gently exhale all the breath from your mouth. Take a big breath in. Take a big breath out. I guess I should have said receive a big breath. So let's do that one more time. Receive a big breath in. And receive a big breath out. Inhale for Om. Join if you'd like. Draw your thumbs to your third eye. May our thoughts be clear. Draw your thumbs to your lips. May our words be kind. And draw your thumbs to your heart center. May our hearts be open. The light, the breath, the continual teacher within me honors and salutes the light, the breath, the continual teacher within each of you. Namaste.